Well, Namaskar, Dr. Charan Singh. Welcome to this program of AuroTalks. This is a program which has been sponsored by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. And this is in relation with the article that you have written on Karl Marx and Sri Aurobindo. Well, it's been a wonderful article and a very important one because people are a bit surprised how to compare Karl Marx and Sri Aurobindo, who seem to be poles apart in their solutions and also the way they have faced the problem. So let us have a little kind of a discussion more to see or to help the reader who may like to read your article in the book. So your article is in this book, and now in your interview, I'd like you to speak more to clarify some concept that you have written in this article. It's more to help the listener, because sometimes it can become complex. So it's more like a conversation where you clarify, not that you're questioning or as an exam, nothing. Now, Dr. Charan Singh, you have given us right in the first paragraph, right in the second line, a very interesting and important statement from Sri Aurobindo, where he says, I myself am a communist in a certain sense. If you have the copy in front of you, you will see
yes, I do.
Right in the beginning, in the abstract, you have quoted this line. I mean, that's a wonderful line that summarizes the entire vision of both the thinkers, Sri Aurobindo and Karl Marx. Because how does Sri Aurobindo call himself a communist in a certain sense? Can you explain that? What is the meaning? Why Sri Aurobindo says, I'm a communist?
Sir. Of course. Thank you so much. Yeah, that is very interesting, statement of Sri Aurobindo about himself. And we know from C.R. Das has used a wonderful phrase for Sri Aurobindo in his Alipur trial, the lover of humanity. One of the aspects of Sri Aurobindo is that he is the lover of humanity. And on the similar pole, a communist also thinks of the better good of the society. A communist thinks of equality, liberty, brotherhood. But Sri Aurobindo is talking on spiritual principles. He later elaborates all this notion through Karma Yogin, through the pages of Vande Mataram, through his other talks and letters, that he believes in the brotherhood of soul. His communism is based on the principles of the oneness of humanity as a whole. So his statement should be read in this light, sir, that he is a communist, but from a different point of view. He is a communist without violence, without the ideology of gun, and without any notion of the ideological foe, which are the core principles to some extent of Marxism or mainstream Marxism.
Yes, I remember. You have also written very rightly about Karl Marx saying he's the revolution. He believed in the revolution of the gun, whereas Sri Aurobindo believes in the evolution of the soul. Very rightly, he has pointed out the difference. Now, there is one line here: spirituality is now an inevitability of the human race, and the clash of civilization, the essential condition in place of the clash of civilization. You remember the line? You have it in front of you, maybe in your paper.
Yes.
At the bottom of the first page.
I have the paper with me now.
Yeah. This is very important statements. This says spirituality is now an inevitability of the human race, or inevitability for the human race. Why do you use the word inevitability? In what sense?
Well, if we look around us, the world has, in the previous century, the world has witnessed two extremely gory world wars. And now, because more and more countries are atomic powers, now more and more resources are there being put into wars and acrimony and national and regional issues. I don't think that there is a possibility of the third world war. Now, one very profound thinker, I am missing the name of the thinker, but he said the 21st century will be either spiritual or it will simply not be. So we have reached up to this point where humanity is left with very little option. We will have to either evolve ourselves, we will have to either develop our collective bonhomie, collective love for humanity, embrace humanity as a whole, or there are seeds of destructions which ultimately will become the regions or the causes of our collective annihilation. So in this light, the only option humanity, the only option before the world is the clasp of civilization and not a clash of civilization, because we have already caused a lot of damage to nature, to human progeny, to civilizations, to earth as a whole. So we don't have much time to spare. We don't have much time for this kind of insensitivity and stupidity any longer, sir. This statement should be looked in this light, and because it is only spirituality that has the all-encompassing vision of embracing the whole humanity, love and respect and sensitivity towards nature, towards resources, towards fellow humans, even towards fellow creatures. So only the spiritual vision is the inevitability of the present, and only spirituality will redeem us as a whole, as a humanity. This is what I meant when I wrote those lines.
Very rightly explained. I think we understand now. I think I'd like to leave the discussion here, get into a little bit deeper into Karl Marx's philosophy. You see, you write here that Karl Marx basically divided humanity into two classes, the working class and the capitalist class. And what are the haves and the have-not, proletariat and the capitalist? But my question is, all over the world, including in India very strongly, we recognize four classes, the Brahmin, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, Shudra, etc. What happens to the other classes? He has recognized only the proletariat and the capitalist. But why was he blind to the Brahmin and the Kshatriya and what happens to those? Where do they come in? Say for example, a Brahmin.
I could not hear the question completely, sir. If possible, kindly repeat.
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. You see, we have here Karl Marx, who believes only in two classes, the working class and the capitalist class, the proletariat and the capitalist. Now, my question is, we have in India four classes, the Brahmin, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, Shudra. Now, where does Brahmin go into? Where does Kshatriya get into Karl Marx's categories? How can we avoid these two classes, which are very much there, not only in India, but all over the world? There are capitalists, there are Brahmin, there are Kshatriya, there are nobles. So when you say he accepted only two classes, what happens to the other classes, the Brahmin and the Kshatriya? Can we really think on those lines? Why did Karl Marx... tell me.
Sir, from the capital class, the division of human society as capital class and the proletariat or the working class is essentially the Marxist understanding of human societies. It is a result of Marxist understanding that since time immemorial, the human society has been divided into the exploiter and the exploited, the master and the serf, and the guildsman and the journeyman. He divides human society on his own political philosophy. In Indian society, as you rightly mentioned, that there are clearly four varnas, four categories of caste-based varna categories. But if we go through the first chapter of Sri Aurobindo's The Human Cycle, he clearly mentions that in the Vedic time, the symbolic meaning of these four castes was totally different.
Yes.
One had the power through tapasya, through satsanga, or through his spiritual self-culture. One had the freedom the legacy to go to any of these classes according to his inner state, according to the dasa, the condition of his consciousness. It has been diluted over the years, and now it has become a dead. So Sri Aurobindo views this question from that perspective, that it was not as rigid, as mechanical as it has become today. The Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, in his concept of society, in his notion in his views on the caste system, he clearly mentions that all these categories are symbolic, and that's why he mentions many Shudra saints also. He mentions in his writings, in his illuminating writings on Karma Yogi, Vande Mataram, many times he talks about those saints, and they are second to none. They are second to none in the whole Indian pantheon of Brahmin seers or even Kshatriya warriors. So it was more a symbolic representation of the society than a rigid, imposed mechanical imposition.
Now, if you say that,
please go on.
Karl Marx, tell me, does a Brahmin exist or not for Karl Marx? Brahmin, not as a class, but that kind of a quality of a man who are thinkers, philosophers, poets, scientists. Where do they go? They're not necessarily rich people, capitalists, and making money and industries and looting the poor. They are a class of knowledge people. You see, these knowledge people also, they are there in Russia and China. Where do they get classified? That means for them, they don't recognize anybody as Brahmin, anybody as knowledge. There are only two classes. One is who is making money, the other is who is suffering. But there is a Kshatriya guna, there is a Brahmin guna. So they don't recognize at all this Brahmin and the Kshatriya. Should I understand that way?
You are right, sir. Marx has only a single yardstick to judge the social parameter or the social developmental parameter. He has before him the bourgeoisie or the capital class. According to him, they are perpetually sinner, they are exploitator, they should be vanquished, they should be defeated, they should be overthrown through gun, through violence, through whatever means. And the second class, the working class, for Marx is eternally the sufferer. They are the suffering class. So they have every right to unleash violence over the others. And this has created a massive tragedy across the world. The seeds of communist revolution's failure across the world lies in this notion that one is permanently bad and one is permanently good. So Marx has no such notion that a Brahmin is by birth or by knowledge or by wisdom one becomes Brahmin, and a Kshatriya even, and a Shudra also has the privilege to become a Brahmin symbolically, spiritually, on the parameter of knowledge. Marx does not have, I think, this empathy and does not have this insight to see things in this light. This is where Sri Aurobindo becomes relevant and more pertinent to the contemporary times.
Now, the next question is, you have said this has it succeeded? One place you say there's a great influence of Karl Marx over the world. Of course, it is there when all these communist countries have come about. Now, also he has become a hero, worshipped like a great hero, the savior of the proletariat. But then you have also written, these things has failed. Marxism has failed. Now, it's a very big comment. How do you say that it has failed? Is it because you have read Sri Aurobindo, you are saying? Or is it your own knowledge of the political history of the world, geopolitical history? I mean, what makes you think that Karl Marx is a failure?
I have said that Marxism has failed across the world, but yes, the seeds of that failure lie again in the way Marxism or the way the theories of Marx were applied by his political friends and followers and successors. Let us make it also very clear that Marx has little to do with the violence, the bloodshed, the bloody revolutions that ensued. His, in the name of his ideology, in the name of his ism, later on, whether in China or in Russia or in Cambodia or in Cuba or anywhere else. Marx has no direct connection with this violence and this bloodshed. But of course, Marxism failed because you cannot. One fundamental difference is, ideally, Marxism should have started by those economies or those countries where the wealth is surplus and the population is small, so that this communistic ideal could be implemented very easily. For example, the rich countries, some countries of the Europe and of course America, but it happened differently. Marxism basically flourished in countries where the population was huge and the per capita GDP and the capital, wealth, the capital was very small. So the idealistic notion of dividing the capital, a just and ideal economic society could not take place. And moreover, once the followers or the students of Marx or Marxism gained power, they themselves developed all the traits of the exploiters. They treated even their own political rivals, on their own cohorts, their supporters, their commanders, very badly. What happened after the French Revolution? How the guillotine killed many of the champions of the revolution. How Stalin in Russia started the Great Purge movement in 1935 and eliminated almost every possible political rival. And how in China they trampled upon all possible human rights. And so the moment they grabbed the power, it was an ideology. It looks fine from outside, but the moment one gains power, the moment all these champions, all these rulers, they became the worst despots. They became the worst dictators of humanity. Pol Pot in Cambodia, Stalin in Russia, all these examples are sufficient. And here again, Sri Aurobindo becomes important, that the seeds of transformation, the key to transformation lie in the transformation of the human mind and human consciousness, and not in any political philosophy, because political philosophy at the hands of an imperfect ruler, imperfect medium, is doomed to fail.
Yeah, I understand. But I would like to know directly, what is Sri Aurobindo's argument or explanation why Marxism has failed? Marxism tried to establish some kind of equality, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Ideas, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Marxism tried this question of equality. Then he says it has failed, and you are also saying it has failed due to all these reasons. But what is Sri Aurobindo's explanation of the failure of Marxism or communism?
Okay, sir. I am quoting one of the best quotes from Sri Aurobindo on this theme. Right. Why the ideals, the catchwords or the buzzwords or the mantras of Marxism or the communist revolution, equality, liberty, and fraternity, why it is not mechanically possible? I am quoting what I have written in my paper and what Sri Aurobindo says in the Human Cycle, page number 569 and 70. Freedom, equality, brotherhood are three Godheads of the soul.
Right.
He's not calling these things political, slogans. He's calling the Godheads of the soul. Right. They cannot be really achieved through the external machinery of society or by man, as long as he lives only in the individual and the communal ego. When the ego claims liberty, it arrives at competitive individualism. When it asserts equality, it arrives first at a strife, then at an attempt to ignore the variations of nature. And as the sole way of doing that successfully, it constructs an artificial and machine-made society. I'm leaving a part of it. Yet the brotherhood is the real key to the triple gospel of idea of humanity. Equality and liberty will be successful or will be gained only after the brotherhood has been achieved, and not brotherhood of barrel or gun, but brotherhood of the soul. The Brahminic or the Rishi-like realization that all is me, all is God, or the John Donne's beautiful line that any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in humanity. So this involvement of the soul, this soul's fellow feeling is what Sri Aurobindo is highlighting. That unless that brotherhood is achieved, is experienced, no outer machinery, no revolution, however bloody, however forceful, can effectively realize the dream of equality, liberty, and brotherhood.
Yes.
So Sri Aurobindo clearly responds to this particular aspect of why Marxism failed, why liberty, equality, brotherhood were not achieved through forceful mediums, forceful methods. And I am not. I'm quoting one of his quotes, sir, from Essays Divine and Human.
Right.
If communism ever re-establishes itself successfully upon earth, if communism ever re-establishes itself successfully upon earth, he is using the word re-establishes. It means he's having an eye that it has failed once. So if it really re-establishes itself upon earth, it must be on the foundation of soul's brotherhood and the death of egoism. This is page number 465, Essays Divine and Human, and in fact this quote is from his Thoughts and Aphorisms. So ideals, lofty and sublime ideals like equality, liberty, brotherhood, they cannot be achieved, according to Sri Aurobindo, through a monarch, through a powerful authority, through the power or the muzzle of gun. These ideals could only be achieved through soul's evolution, through fellow feeling, through oneness.
Yes, that is of course from Sri Aurobindo's angle, but there is one question before I go to Sri Aurobindo. You have given here a very important thought here, that there can be no better proof of the power of ideas than the ironic influence of the political philosopher who most insisted on the power of vested interests, the man who wrote that the ruling ideas of each age have ever been the ideas of his ruling class. Now, you see, in your analysis, I feel you have said that Marx did not believe in violence and bloodshed and all that, and yet his ideas have conquered most of the nations around the world. His ideas of equality and how to bring in justice among the poor and the rich and all that. So you see, we can see the power of the ideas. You see, what Marx has contributed is a wonderful idea, not a system of revolutions and a bloodshed and all that. It is, as you said rightly, it is the follower, the Stalin and the Mao and the others who have given this kind of a turn to the events, that is bringing in violence and all that. So that is the crux of the matter with Karl Marx. He caught the right inspiration. You see, what I would say from my angle after reading your article and Sri Aurobindo, that there is an importance of the idea. That is what comes from an intuitive level to the one of these founders called Karl Marx here. So we can say Karl Marx is successful as somebody who has given us the correct idea. He has caught the right intuition, like liberty and freedom was caught by the French revolutionists. This Russian revolution caught the idea of equality. That's fine. But as you very rightly analyzed, even this French Revolution, it caught the inspiration of freedom and liberty, but down the line, it becomes a massacre, a revolution, a killing of people. So I'm also seeing that wherever the original idea is good, but when it comes to the human level, the social level, the life level, all this question of ego, power, violence, corruption, all this comes, they spoil that whole idea. And what Sri Aurobindo said is what you have analyzed very rightly. On the level of these followers, these things get corrupted. So freedom was corrupted, equality was corrupted, and what we see in communism also, the idea is good, but the corruption, human corruption, where you said individual ego, collective corruption, they come in. Now, applying the same theory, can we say that Sri Aurobindo's idea is about equality, not about fraternity? Sri Aurobindo has caught the intuition of fraternity, the third aspect. But the third aspect of fraternity, in the sense of the spiritual fraternity. Now it is not a human fraternity, as you rightly say, evolution of the soul, the spiritual aspect. Now my fear is, will this great intuition of Sri Aurobindo of fraternity that's coming about brotherhood, somebody like Sri Aurobindo has caught the right intuition of fraternity, spiritual fraternity, evolution of the soul, whatever you want to term it. He even talks about the religion of humanity, the ideal of humanity and all that. Now down the line, another 50 years later, if this ideal goes to this followers or to some people who want to capture Sri Aurobindo's yoga or Sri Aurobindo's ideal, I don't know what you'll have to explain how Sri Aurobindo thinks of establishing a fraternity. But will it not go through the same sad state like equality and fraternity have gone through? That means, is there not the danger that Sri Aurobindo's idea also will go through some kind of a rough period, a kind of a something of the human level, where we, in normal terms, will betray his ideas, like Stalin has betrayed the ideas of Karl Marx and the French Revolution, betrayed the idea of the French original people. So is there any danger that Sri Aurobindo's ideas also will undergo this kind of a corruption, or this kind of a distortion in the human consciousness? I'm just applying history. I'm not telling that is my judgment. If you follow history, French Revolution, Russian Revolution, what you call the spiritual revolution of Sri Aurobindo, I would say it may happen the same way. What's the guarantee? What's your answer to that?
Well, the fears are obviously there, because every Masiha, every avatar, every great spiritual light is to some extent misunderstood by succeeding generations. But I have great faith that those seeker souls, those sincere souls, those serious students of his Pathshala will always be there, and his primary texts are always there. And moreover, the experience of the time consciousness, the world events, the political events, the growing development of the world around us will repeatedly put parallel these things before us. That what is the situation of the Marxist heaven, the Marxist ideals of these three principles. We have the experience of these, the results, the repercussions of all these revolutions today. Similarly, perhaps with growing cacophony, perhaps with growing disclaimer, perhaps with growing disquiet, we will be in a position to better understand, better assimilate the actual meaning of Sri Aurobindo's brotherhood of souls. There is no denying that it is not an easy state. It is not, as you rightly mentioned, that it is not not an ordinary feeling, not a brotherhood as we establish a bond of friendship with our family, friend, or other close mates. It is one of the highest stages of siddhi and sadhana also, and equally difficult, because the human principle, the ego principle, Sri Aurobindo calls that man is a god who hurts himself at every step. In Savitri, he writes somewhere. And on page 440, he says, this mortal creature is his worst foe. So the dangers are definitely there, sir. But as long as there are people, there are beings, there are efforts where ego is being understood very clearly, where sadhana is going on very seriously, and keeping before us the world experience, the results of all these bloody revolutions, the historical experience of human soul, keeping all these questions before us, I think that there will be people, there will be realized souls around us, before us or with us, who will be in a clearer position to say that no, Sri Aurobindo's ideal of brotherhood of soul is in fact the future of humanity. This is inevitable, and there is no other hope but to adopt and accept this ideal. I don't see its situation going on. And as far as Sri Aurobindo is concerned, you have opened before me many avenues of his thinking, and you have shown me in our deeper deliberations, in our interactions at different levels, that what I have come to know, that there are very, very few people on earth, even today, who really understand and assimilate his actual message. There are devotees, there are, blind devotees, there are people who are doing something, but to touch his message, to become the light he was indicating at, is a Herculean task, sir, and it needs lifetime of sadhana and blessings from the gurus directly. Let us hope that his message is also not went, and his message is also go down to the drain in a very negative and destructive way.
You see, that is the thing that I often wonder. You see, from the previous lessons of history that we have seen, what is said fraternity is on the individual level, where the individual has to evolve into going beyond this ego's recognition. On the collective level, on the equality level, it has got to be a huge community, nation, which has to go beyond this ego, national ego and all that. But right now, looking at the world affair today, as you know, the world around, are we any 1 inch closer to Sri Aurobindo's ideal on the individual level, on the collective level, on the geophysical level, on the national level? Look at the world today, right on today, 8th of August 2024. You have Bangladesh, you have Ukraine, you have Middle East. How do we say that we are progressing towards Sri Aurobindo? Is there the slightest feature where I can say, no, this is happening? What is your take on that? You see, it may be good you are a devotee of Sri Aurobindo and all that. But if I were to say, look at the world around you, look at the individuals around you, the few that you are saying the word, maybe now you can count them on fingers, your hand fingers. Those are the few, 1, 2, 7, 8, 9. But is that sufficient to bring in Sri Aurobindo's ideal? You have even mentioned about the Superman and all that. So, I mean, there is a kind of a sense of utopia in Sri Aurobindo, that there's a question of a utopian thought. Whereas people will say Marxism is more to the ground, to the poor people, something achievable. But Sri Aurobindo's ideal is too high, too lofty, too utopian. Neither the individual can do, nor the collectivity can do. And the question of the Superman, we don't even know the spelling of Superman. So there is some kind of a doubt that is coming up in some of the intellects and the non-believers. So how do we reply to these people? Because the reality supports them. Those who say Sri Aurobindo is too far, it's some idealism. How would you reply?
Again in his Savitri, I'm not remembering the exact lines, but what the purport of the line is that nothing happens in the cosmic events before its appointed time or before its appointed, hour. I believe that whatever chaos, whatever confusion, whatever dissatisfaction with humanity, with the nation, with fellow beings, fellow Indians, with fellow inhabitants of the globe, whatever dissatisfaction we have, I believe that is part of the grand cosmic scheme. I believe that this dissatisfaction will lead us as a humanity towards something, towards a vision, towards a realization that our path can be brighter, our path can be greater, our path can be large and luminous. I believe that I'm a student of and follower of those lines from the Life Divine, in which Sri Aurobindo says that the animal is satisfied with the modicum of necessity, the gods are content with their splendors, but man cannot rest permanently until he reaches some highest good. He is the greatest of living beings because he is most discontented, because he feels most the pressure of his limitations. So perhaps what Sri Aurobindo aspires, a deeply dissatisfied humanity, people who are not satisfied with the average humanity of Sri Aurobindo, people who are not happy with the basic, after gaining the basic luxury, comfort and all that for life. His evolutionary man will perhaps take birth in insecurity, in chaos, in confusion, in anarchy, in world disorder. Perhaps this is all churning, this is all part, this is an ongoing Mahabharat, sir. I take it that way. And out of this ongoing Mahabharat will emerge the nectar of Bhagavad Gita, will emerge the the samurai spirit of Arjuna from across the world. I'm not dissatisfied. Perhaps Sri Aurobindo was far, far ahead from his time, and we are still fumbling for his message. But as a compassionate father and guru, he will stoop, he will descend down, and embrace humanity in his folds. Everybody. There were critics around him when he was around, when he was in body. There were people who disagreed with him. There were people who tried to correct his English as well when he was around. So different voices, dissent voices, atheists, even the barbaric civility, barbaric society today, all are part of his spiritual vision. If they are not part of his vision, his spirituality loses its fragrance, because it is not for the chosen few, it is not for the selected few. His spirituality belongs to the hungry people of Somalia and Africa. His spirituality belongs to the extremely opulent people of America, people who have touched the pinnacle of materialism and are feeling the deep dissatisfaction with life. His spirituality belongs to Japan, it belongs to Nordic countries, it belongs to Somalia and Sri Lanka. And of course, India is going to be the receptacle of his spirituality. Man is going to be the receptacle of his spirituality. The more dissatisfied man is, the more there are chances that Sri Aurobindo will be better understood.
Yeah,
it is like that. It is like that. The value of downpour or the vernal shower is best appreciated in Sahara Desert, sir, and not in the Himalayas.
Yes, I think very rightly put. But only one of my last conclusion questions is: all that we are talking about, are we forgetting the time parameter? Because you see, in Sri Aurobindo's vision, all that we are talking about, we have to include a time parameter. That means it may not be in the next 100 years or 1500 years or 10,000 years. There seems to be a long gap between what we are and what we're supposed to be. And whatever you have said, the dissatisfaction of man and all that is understandable. But looking at the society and the countries around us, where there is not even the smallest inch of an evolutionary consciousness to think of the higher, I think Sri Aurobindo will be realized surely, but there is a big time gap between man today and man tomorrow. Because his vision is, of course, has been given to us, as you said rightly, much before time. But I think in our opportunities, in our optimistic view, we shall not forget that there's something called the time. And then secondly, my question to you directly is, we are talking about spirituality, India being, it counts the entire humanity, Somalia or Africa or America or India. But do we have an understanding of how does this spirituality come in? I mean, at what stage of man's growth? Because he's a rich man, he'll turn to spirituality, or because he's a poor man, he'll turn to spirituality. Why and when will this man turn to spirituality? What will cause him? What will really force him to turn to spirituality? Do you have any idea on that? You are saying about spirituality, but why should I turn spiritual? I have my house, I have my bank balance, I have my car, I have my luxury. What is the need of my church and God and temple? Today, my world, the materialist world, is so satisfied, and every other day I see an AI and artificial intelligence, somebody or this other. So almost, I must say, you see, when I went long back to Europe, to America, I almost felt God is not needed. I mean, this kind of in India, when you're in trouble, you go to God, you go to temple and say, oh God, give me this, I'm suffering and all that. But there, the human beings who are your answer. If you have a problem, you go to a doctor, a free doctor, because you have the security, social security. If you have a problem, you have to go to a judge. So I felt, where is God? Where is the need for God? So this kind of a question that arises, can we think on those lines? Because you are talking, they'll turn to spirituality, but my question is, why should they turn? What is the need? Is spirituality a need, or is it only an aspiration and an ideal? It's talked about in Sri Aurobindo, Savitri, and other books. That's my question. Let me discuss. I'm not questioning you. We're exchanging ideas. I'm thinking of something. You are thinking of something. I'm not trying to defend you to defend anybody. It's a kind of a rational, loud thinking, if I can say.
Sir, this is really a wonderful question. What is the need of spirituality when already there is lot of satisfaction, lot of security out of wealth, out of all comforts, luxuries and all that? But for a person who is satisfied with all these things and is not on the march towards realizing his own soul and self, it's part of Sri Aurobindo's average humanity. He's not a seeker, he's not a spiritual student. He's part of that average humanity who is satisfied with eating, drinking, going to clubs, visiting, laughing, jumping, and artificially laughing in the park in the morning. All these people are part of the average humanity. They have least possibility because they have no aspiration in their heart. If there is no aspiration in the heart, well, wealth is there for our physical sustenance, wealth is there for all those conveniences which are essential as human beings here on our material preservance and all that. But it should not close our spiritual opportunities. In one of his quotes in the Thoughts and Aphorisms, he says that even family, charity, nationhood, all these things, if they don't become the soul's opportunities, they become soul's prisons. So we should not confine ourselves from all these things. We should not try to buy through the power of money that which is beyond money or that which is beyond the power of money. Again, the dissatisfaction with self, again, the deep aspiration of knowing yourself becomes the key question, sir. As long as there is no awakening, as long as there is no aspiration to know oneself, there can't be any progress. There can't be any need of Sri Aurobindo or any other spiritual master as well. The sense of dissatisfaction, the sense of fellow feeling, the sense of empathy to feel the privation and pain of others and to search for the remedy, which is definitely again spirituality, is the essential conditions. Spirituality is not for everyone. Spirituality is not for the masses. Spirituality is not for the riches. As long as they are satisfied with their riches, their wealth, their fame, and their opulence. So spirituality is for a different set of people, for a different mindset, for a different bhav bhumi, or the breeding ground of consciousness. I take it this way, sir.
Right, sir.
And moreover, I'm reminded of the beginning lines of the Life Divine. Okay, we have wealth, we have popularity, we have degrees, diplomas, physical comforts, material comforts, everything. But still in the heart of hearts, we long for freedom, light, truth, immortality. Immortality is one of our core existential thrust, and that cannot be quenched by any money, any outer opulence. So only spirituality is the way for that. The real happiness, the real satisfaction, the real sense of fulfillment will come only and only through spirituality, and never through materialistic pleasures or the power of wealth.
Now you see, you have to raise this question of immortality, but don't you think the modern science is trying to make man immortal? With all the tremendous AI inventions, robots and all that, and the medication, the scientific medical sciences, they're galloping in their progress. What's the idea? Making man, physical body, more and more immortal. So it's not necessary to have spirituality. It can be done through science also. Am I right?
Well, I see this question from the understanding that achieving immortality means realizing in the heart of hearts that I am immortal. One is not achieving immortality outwardly. One is realizing that I have that. I am part of the imperishable. Outer immortality is not a blessing, sir. To me, it is a curse. Just like the Eliot's whole poem, The Westland, is based on a king, a life of a king who had got that blessing of immortality, and look how his own immortality became a curse for him. It is essential to think over this question: why do you want to lengthen the life? Why do you want to achieve immortality? Immortality for what? The body cannot be preserved for good, and those attempts that are being done, look, we know what happened in the case of Michael Jackson, how he was always ready with a team of doctors, underwent so many of plastic surgeries and things like that. Even if the current man, every one of us gets a lifetime of 500 years, we would be doing same stupid things for 500 years. So our material immortality is nothing but an addition to the already present chaos on earth. So sooner we pass, the better for the humanity and for the Mother Earth. But our notion of spirituality, our immortality, was that Vedic realization, that spiritual realization that I cannot die, I am part of the imperishable. This is what we achieve, this is what we aim at while doing sadhana, while sitting at the feet of the Guru. I take it this way, sir.
Yeah, so what happens is ultimately Sri Aurobindo's message very strictly boils down to the human beings until and unless they turn to yoga, doing sadhana, achieving through sadhana the egolessness, the change of consciousness, etc. There is no other philosophy or psychology that can really give us freedom, light, and immortality. So ultimately we land again in that ancient philosophy of sadhana, yoga sadhana, where all our great saints and Vibhutis and Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, everybody has gone through a sadhana. So do you envisage a kind of or does Sri Aurobindo envisage a kind of a period after say 500 years, 5,000 years, the majority of human beings are doing this yoga tapasya and meditation and sadhana and psychic realization? Or is there any other mass media, mass method? Because I cannot see anybody, not all this, those people are living in my street of Kuchikupam here, sitting on meditation. I see them on a daily living basis, eating, drinking and sleeping. But how will this humanity turn to a mass sadhaks? And without sadhana, there is no such possibility of the Superman or the psychic realization. So there is something missing that I cannot imagine people in Africa to Somalia to China to Japan to India, all of them turn into spiritual sadhana. What we have written in Synthesis of Yoga or the Love Divine or Savitri. Do you really envisage humanity sitting for sadhana? A yoga sadhana is not just even meditation. I can imagine after 20 years people will say every day I meditate, but that's not sadhana. But sadhana in the sense of synthesis of yoga, is that possible? Is this feasible? What is your take on that? I mean, how would you reflect on this question of mine? It's just loud thinking. Let's see what we are thinking about. I mean, I'm being frank. You are a philosopher, so I'm discussing with you philosophically, not questioning you. Yeah, go ahead.
Your questions are very significant, sir, very pertinent, and I think this kind of churning should go on if we really want to discuss Sri Aurobindo in the exact light in which he should be discussed. Well, the necessity of the individual effort should be always there. It is always there, sir. And not even the times of Christ or Guru Nanak or Buddha or even Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, not many people achieved the height of their gurus, despite having the privilege of proximity of the living spiritual masters. Not a single person got enlightenment during the time of Buddha, barring that last moment when he passed some light to Mahakashyap, and when not a single person achieved, not even Anand, not even Sariput or all those people. So personal effort, the necessity of personal effort remains always there. The Guru does not do sadhana on your behalf. Every human being, if we want to see a humanity which is collectively awakened towards spirituality, collectively talking about, love, beauty, humanity, harmony, all that, the heaven would be here on earth, here and now. But that never happens because somewhat we are in love with our ignorance, somewhat we are in love with our stupidities, collecting and culling comforts and all that, separating divisions, creating divisions, raising, erecting walls, visible and invisible before our fellow humans. All that is happening. But mass awakening, if we really want to see the fragrant garden of spirituality blooming around us, humanity as a whole need to do the effort. I cannot uplift my neighbor, my next door neighbor, unless he or she does some effort personally, unless he or she feels that, yes, self-exceeding, some special flower of spirituality is needed in life. The aspiration, the thrust, the quench should be there, sir. And as long as that is absent, I don't think that we will see that that kind of atmosphere around us. We will see that kind of a spiritual atmosphere around us. The mass awakening, the collective effort, the personal effort, and the persistence in the effort needs to be there. And again, much will happen by the grace of God and Guru, because much depends on the beyond.
Yeah, I think it's good. We have had a good discussion. Yeah, so there is, because this question of mass awakening is the question where you remember the mother answering a question, if only humanity could consent to be,
Spiritualized.
Spiritualized. So somewhere there is this question of consent to be, not even make an effort. What we are discussing, there should be an individual effort, my neighbor should be there. What Sri Aurobindo and the mother are asking us, or wanting us to do, is only consent to be spiritualized. So I think it is as if they are saying, rest I will do. I will do it for you. Mother and Sri Aurobindo, they will do. But only from our side, they want not even the sadhana, not even the effort. You just say, they are saying, consent to be spiritualized. So just imagine the amount of sacrifice they're asking for from us is only a consent. Whereas the old yogas, they said, no, 99%, 90% of effort is yours, 10% is my grace. But here things have changed. They are saying 99% is my grace, only 1% is you. You say, yes, mother, I want to be spiritualized. So that is where the key is. I think what we have been discussing about the mass awakening, spirituality coming, the world going around, all this will not happen by our efforts. It will happen only by our consent to be spiritualized. And what you have been discussing is right. If it is applied only to this consent, all the dissatisfaction that you have talked about will be good to the extent of only enforcing us to consent. Otherwise, I'm not asking them to go read Bhagavad Gita or Vedas or Quran or anything. So I'm amazed to see Mother saying that if only humanity consents to be spiritualized, that was in 67. So I think this is where the answer lies in our question of, marking time, the 1,000 years, or 1,500 years, or 5,000 years. They say, whatever the time, it will take time, definitely. But the question is, even these few individuals that you have been talking about turn into sadhana and yoga, even that is not required. So the minimum most that any avatar has asked from humanity is just turn to the sunlight. The rest the sunlight will pull us, the supramental sun will pull us towards it. But that is where my whole problem is. Mankind is not even ready to turn towards the sun. It's only very few who have learned the master. We have our tremendous weaknesses. Nobody is doing sadhana except those great avant-garde people who came with the master. None of us, you, me, all our colleagues, all our generation, my generation, your generation, we have our drawbacks, our attachment, our weaknesses, our dark spots. But if there is within our heart this little consent to be the mother's child. I think that's where is our success, is our contribution, I would say, not only success is a big word, is our contribution towards the mother master, preparing a spiritual age, like the human cycle that he has given us right from this, the 5 stages of human social growth. The last one, the next coming one, he says, is the spiritual age. So we are all moving towards a spiritual age, which will take its own time, long time, but at least in this movement from this individualistic age towards the spiritual age, if we can consent and say, Ma, I'm your child, I want to be your child. Just that much. Only consent to be. Rest is this. And consent to be and surrender to be. Only these are the 2 mantras if we can remember. I think rest, because otherwise it is mass, tremendous, universal idealism of Sri Aurobindo that the whole of humanity must be ready for a spiritual age. Or it's not possible if you're really seeing the old way. Because they themselves have come with the necessary force and power and consciousness to pull like a big sunlight, a supplemental sun that can attract the whole of humanity en masse. But the only thing is, I want you to open your hand and say, yes, Lord, I want to be with you. I think if we understand it in a little different way, then only I can put all these questions together. Otherwise, there's a lot of doubt and debate going on. How can Sri Aurobindo achieve this? Somebody in Somalia who doesn't even know the spelling of God or divine, and then our notions, Chinese notions. So I think we have to take it in a different context, and especially if we de-link them from this idea, it will not happen. It is they who are promising that you consent and I will take. So I think in our understanding, we have to mention that it's Mother Sri Aurobindo who have taken the responsibility to take us towards the spiritual age and bring the new supermind. Because he says, if you consent, rest I will do. So Dr. Charan Singh, has been a lovely discussion. You see, it's more a chat and what I'm thinking, what you are thinking. And because we are both into Sri Aurobindo and the mother, we have given our answers. And let us see what happens that for them to see, not let us see, let them see. But our submission is to Mother Sri Aurobindo. We consent to be yours, O Mother Sri Aurobindo. Thank you, Dr. Charan Singh. Hope you have enjoyed this talk. We are together.
Thank you so much, sir. It is always a pleasure to come close to you, listen your wisdom. Your very presence is uplifting as you have lived with the mother. You are in a way, for us, you are one of the living examples of the Guru's teachings and one of my abiding inspirations. I am deeply grateful to SACAR family, to you, Deepshikha Didi and Shruti ji, for all the love and legacy you have bestowed upon me. Thank you so much for your blessings.
Thank you, dear.
I'm grateful.